Hello and welcome to a new episode of the podcast series from the Belt and Road Institute in Sweden. My name is Hussein Askary. I'm a board member of the Belt and Road Institute in Sweden. In these podcast series, we are presenting to you objective facts about the Belt and Road Initiative. And we usually either go to geographical areas, different parts of the world connected to the Belt and Road Initiative, or we take special sectors such as maritime transport, the health Silk Road, and other space Silk Road. Today, we're going to both go to Africa, but also discuss a special sector, which is the railway sector in Africa. To do that, I have with me my friend, Mr. Olawale A-Rasheed from Abuja, Nigeria. Hello, Olawale.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me, Askary.
Thank you very much for taking the time. Mr. Olawale is the CEO of the African Railway Consulting Ltd, and also the director of the African Railway Roundtable. You are also the editor of a specialized magazine called Railway Business. We will give the link to that very specialized website. It deals not only with African railway matters, but also railway news and reports from around the world. So it's nice to have you with us. I remember the last time we met, you invited me to a very special webinar in Nigeria, which you yourself moderated. And it was a very fascinating on Nigerian railway, but they were experts from many countries in the world. And I learned so much from you and from the other guests. It was organized by the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we were very happy.
Much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Anyway, I would like to just make a short introduction into what I have been working on myself while working on this special book or special report extending the new Silk Road to West Asia and Africa with other friends from the Schiller Institute in 2017. Of course, I learned a lot about African matters, African economy. We dealt with many aspects of Africa's economic development, and of course the role of China in these developments. China is very active in there, and we took many aspects of the development of Africa in the infrastructure sector specifically, but also in education, agriculture, and scientific research and healthcare. So what our main, we will of course have a series of podcasts with other African experts on questions of water, power, maritime transport and other aspects. But today we will focus on the question of connectivity, but specifically since Olawale is expert on railways, on railway development, the status of the railway development in Africa. As we know from history, Africa did have railways, but these were built by colonial powers. And as you see in the left image, the railway system was designed to go from either mines or plantations to the nearest port for exporting the wealth of Africa outside of Africa. Without having any benefit for the local population and the economies of the region. It was just extracting wealth and exporting it, shipping it away. And as you see, there is no connection between African nations. Besides, these different railways, which were built by different colonial powers, have different sizes and gauges. So it makes it even more difficult to connect the African nations. But now we have in Africa, the African Union have a vision. Well, first of all, this problem with the connectivity, inter-African connectivity, creates a big problem, which is that the trade between African nations themselves is only 13% of Africa's trade in general. So 70 or 87% of all Africa's trade is with the outside world. It's not with African nations. So according to a study from the World Bank in 2006, it noted that even if we only upgrade the existing roads, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa, especially, the existing roads, which are not in a good shape, but if we do upgrade these, we will have increase in trade between African nations of between 100% and 1,000% in some cases. So in the thick lines you see in the Great Lakes regions, you will have increase of trade among African nations by 1,500 to 1,000%, which is enormous. And that's one of the problems in Africa. Now, the African Union has had visions, but this is from the Lagos plan, I guess. It's the Trans-African Highway Network, as you see, to connect all the African capitals with the roads or highways. Now, of course, we will discuss the difference between, or the benefits of railway advantages compared to roads. But if I remember well, the Chinese Prime Minister, when he visited East Africa and also Nigeria in 2014, he said China is willing to connect all the African nations together. So I would like to ask you, Olawale, first of all, what is the status of these ideas and plans for Africa, these dreams? And you may also, if you wish, to tell us a bit about why you think railway transport is more advantageous, especially for the long haul, over road transport. But what is going on in Africa today with railways?
Yes, with railway, this a silent revolution is ongoing all over Africa. National governments are rehabilitating, expanding railway networks. More locomotives are being taken in. Narrow gauge are being expanded to standard gauge. And at a regional level, that's REC, like ECOWAS, SADDC, East Africa. A lot of projects are ongoing. You have the regional bodies also having a railway master plan. And back at the continental level, African Union has a continental railway master plan. So what you see happening across Africa is like a sudden awakening. People now wake up from their slumber and they now realize that to get connectivity done, you need to get railway right. So across Africa today, you are having almost every level of government, from continental level to regional level to national level, scampering over each other to get railway in place to modernize and expand the network. And additionally, you now have effort by national government to connect regionally. You have Ghana-Burkina Faso railway line is ongoing. You have Nigeria-Niger line is ongoing. East Africa is like a master in this game now, because the level of interconnectivity going on from Kenya to Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda is so marvelous. And South Africa, you know, there's already a strong rail line and linkage. You talk of South Africa to Zambia, to Namibia, and of course, Tazara is there. The Chinese pioneered it since.
That's so the Tanzania.
Yes.
That's the Tanzania. Which countries?
Tanzania, Zambia line.
Yeah.
Zambia, yeah.
Yeah, Tanzania, Zambia.
Now, so what you're having now is Africa suddenly embracing what should have been embraced all along, expanding the railway network. And of course, we must admit that a major partner of Africa in this process is China. Now, as to question of road versus rail, several studies have confirmed and concluded that on all parameters, of course, rail is far more advantageous than road. Of course, the road network in Africa is, of course, very high. Though we have very limited transnational highway, like the African Union is planning now. But when you think of the capacity of road to rail, you rate rail far, far higher than road. And when you think of the environmental sustainability, of course, in this age of cutting down CO2 emissions, you see there is that move towards rail as a mode of transport that is environmentally sustainable. So on those three counts and several other, and let me also give this point, road maintenance has always been an issue in Africa. When you build a new road now and you put those heavy haulage on it, it gets down in fuel. But if you move this haulage to track, to rail, you tend to at least move the cost of road maintenance to other sectors of the economy. So Africa is seriously embracing rail because we have seen the advantage.
Right. That's very important point, because I mean, we wrote an article recently on the Djibouti Addis Ababa railway, and the enormous difference it created in compared to the trucks traveling from Djibouti to Ethiopia. Even in the food crisis in 2015, the railway was put into action even before it was completed, because there was congestion in the Djibouti port with all the ships with the food waiting there, but there is not enough capacity with the trucks, and the trucks usually took 8-9 days. Now it takes 8 hours or 9 hours to go from Djibouti. So that's very important.
So the rail capacity is so important for African development, especially now that you have AFCTFA. Now you are thinking of improving the trading relationship within Africa.
Yes.
Africa intertrading with each other. For example, if you look at Nigeria, from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, a rehabilitation of the line has just been awarded. Now from Maiduguri, you can have another line that will go to Chadian capital, N'Djamena. From N'Djamena, you can have another line that is planned for Khartoum, Sudan. And of course, you know, the Egyptian to... So Africa can get connected, you can move products, you can... And of course, there's this concept of integrated corridor development.
Yes.
Integrated corridor development. In fact, that is actually what AU is using as a plank for the Agenda 2063. So along that rail corridor, of course, you have the road corridor, you have ports, you have inland port, dry port. The whole essence of it is to fast track Africa outgrowing underdevelopment.
Yes, and you can have like the multimodal, because you have all the rivers and lakes in Africa, which are very important in the transport, even transboundary transport. So you can have the rivers becoming also part of the multimodal, working with the railways from east to west and from north to south to connect all African nations. I mean, the Africa people have to have an idea that Africa is huge. It's 3 times larger than China. It's like you can fit China, India, the United States, and Europe inside Africa. It's like 30 million square meters.
Inside Africa,
square kilometers. So this is a huge area, and sometimes you have these huge distances, like between Cairo and Khartoum. You know, there is very little going on there, or between Libya and the Chad, or Algeria and the West African. So you have also a lot of distances that makes it economically different. But the importance, as you said, in the integrating the ports, the railways, the rivers, and especially in the sub-Saharan region, is a key aspect of this of the economic development of Africa. Now, I think we don't need to go more into which projects. You mentioned the number of projects. I mean, we had a number of projects already completed. Like we had the modern ones, like the Djibouti Addis Ababa railway built by China. We had the Mombasa-Nairobi in Kenya, also completed in 2017. You mentioned the Zara railway, also the Angola. The Angolan railway was modernized, but you have also a number of projects in Nigeria.
Exactly.
And you have both national.
I can give you a rundown. I can give you a rundown of some of them. For example, in Nigeria, we have a brand new SGR line from Ibadan to Lagos. Lagos is the commercial capital of Nigeria, and Ibadan is one of the one of the largest cities in Africa, also a very big commercial center. We used to have a narrow gauge, which is an old line between Lagos and Ibadan, but we have a completely Chinese-built SGR already running with state-of-the-art stations. It's run between Ibadan and Lagos. And now, government is also doing corridor development as a way of developing the rural community where this SGR line passes through. Now, back at Ibadan, we're having a dry port so that the SGR is linked to the port in Lagos, Apapa. This intermodal concept has already been integrated into it. So from the help from the port in Lagos, you have container coming straight to the hinterland, dropping at Ibadan. And of course, Ibadan is also linked to Abuja, then Kaduna, Kano. All these are ongoing. And of course, I mentioned the Warri Itakpe. Warri Itakpe railway line actually connects Lokoja, the whole capital of Nigeria, in the central part of the country, to Warri, a port in the south-south, which is like a port in the eastern part of the country. This project has been on for almost 40 years, but through revival and involvement of the Chinese, the rail is up and running, both for freight and passenger. And of course, we have a project that is coming up. Okay. Yeah. You want to say something on that?
No, I mean, I say one thing I wanted to say is that Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, I think.
Exactly.
And that makes it even cost effective. The population density is very high in Nigeria. And you have the population also spread in different parts of the country. It's not concentrated, although you have on the coastal areas that's more dense, but that makes it even more important to connect the different population centers in the country together.
Exactly. Now, if I may add, whatever anybody may say about the current government in Nigeria, a major area of achievement is in the railway development and revitalization. You now have some ongoing projects, some completed projects, and some new projects coming up. I just mentioned Lagos Ibadan, SGR, Chinese built. We're having another project just signed that will run from the eastern port, that's Port Harcourt, that will now go to northeastern Nigeria. They call it Port Harcourt Maiduguri line. And there will also be a line that will go from Maiduguri to Kano, which is on the northwestern side of Nigeria. And you are talking of Kano to Niger Republic, Maradi. The calculation is that if you are able to get rail from Nigeria into Maradi, that means you can easily connect Lagos port directly to Kano, then directly to Niger Republic. This is part of boosting inter-African trade and relationship. And the implication is that if you are able to get rail to Niger Republic, Algeria will not mind to link up from southern Algeria. You enter Niger and you link up with that Maradi line. Morocco may also be interested. And before we know it, we are talking of coast to coast. That's Lagos port, eastern port in Nigeria. You can reach the Mediterranean Sea. Right. And fair enough, China has been a major partner in all this.
Right. That's interesting. So the plans in Nigeria, for example, like it's not simply just concentrated on the country itself, but it's the long-term thought is to connect to the neighboring countries.
Exactly. And if I may add, the former president of Chad, before his untimely death, actually came to Nigeria and was proposing a project that will link Maiduguri, that's the northeastern part of Nigeria capital, that's Borno, that will link Maiduguri to N'Djamena, the capital of Chad. Now, that project is still at conception stage, but the reality is that Nigeria is also interested. People in Borno State, in Maiduguri, they are looking at a Nigeria-Chad rail connection. And if you are able to get rail connected to N'Djamena, you are indirectly linking up easily to Khartoum, the capital of Sudan, which means from Maiduguri, you can actually, and of course, we have a very old trade line between Maiduguri and Sudan.
Yeah,
very old.
We have now both South Sudan and North Sudan, but you can connect both of them now, of course.
You can connect, including Central Africa access, and business will boom, more inter-African trade, and of course, we also have Trans-West African Rail Line that will run from Lagos to Abuja, Cote d'Ivoire.
Right.
And of course, you have another project that will run from Lagos coast to Calabar coast, that's in the south-south part of the country. So Nigeria is actually looking beyond internal rail development. There's this expansive agenda to rail connect with other parts of Africa in the spirit of AFTA. And of course, you know, Nigeria is the biggest economy on the continent.
Right.
So it's a way of maximizing area of influence and opportunities.
Yes, I mean what is important in this sense is that, I mean, we have to eliminate poverty in all of Africa, but even in Nigeria, because you need to have the infrastructure to get the economic development process going on. I mean, as we have indicated many times, you know, if you don't have transport, power, water, education, and healthcare, it's impossible to eliminate poverty and get the productivity of the economy going. So this is one other aspect of the railway, is not simply transporting things from point A to point B, but the areas between point A and point B can be developed by being able to bring both machinery, products, and human beings and skilled labor to these different parts. Now, as we talk, of course, it's not only because Africa is so big and needs so much. I don't think China alone can do that job. And also there are other projects which are, as I can indicate, that there are, for example, in Ethiopia, it's not only China working on railway, because we have the one fascinating railway line from the northern part of the country in Mekelle, in the now troubled Tigray region, because the Ethiopians have very ambitious plans to connect all parts of Ethiopia together with railway and roads. But railway they are focusing on. So this line, which is from Mekelle to Weldaya and to Awash, and then connects to the Addis Ababa, Djibouti, half of it is being constructed by a Chinese company. This is a 600 kilometer. And the other half is by a Turkish Austrian, I think, consortium, which is financed by European countries. So China is not alone in that, and there's so much needed to be done. We had the high-speed railway in Morocco from Tangier to Rabat and Casablanca. This is a joint project with Alstom in France. This is the TGV French technology, and also, as you said, the North African countries and Morocco, they also have very ambitious plans to connect. But now we have the high-speed rail. This is a French-Moroccan project, although it's financed by commercial loans. So we had the ability to get other countries, other powers, because Africa is so large and Africa needs so much infrastructure, and especially in the rail sector, that many countries are welcome. So what other projects? There are other countries involved from Europe, for example.
Okay. Yeah, the reality is that China alone cannot do it. We actually need a multi-national consortium to actually take on many of the projects, and this is already happening. In Egypt, there has been a lot of collaboration between Chinese companies and European companies forming consortium to run one project or the other. Actually, the Kano Maradi in Nigeria is also by a consortium that is made up of some European-based companies and with Chinese support too. And between Burkina Faso and Ghana is also a consortium of some Western companies who are also involved in most of the project. And of course, we've mentioned Ethiopia. In Nigeria, similar thing is happening. There is this, the Western world is also waking up to the reality that if you don't help Africa now, Asia will help Africa. And that will determine what a developed Africa will do in future. So you now have, and of course, we should not forget that a very important player, Turkey. Turkey is also playing a very prominent role. Turkey is doing a lot in Tanzania. And of course, you know, in Tanzania, there's also a consortium of European companies and Turkish companies and elements from Asia also working. Turkey is also operating in Senegal. Their metro line, Turkey is playing prominent role, in addition to some other projects being handled by the Chinese. And when you go to Southern Africa, you have all this mix of Western and Asian involvement. But Africa need all the powers to help it now. And that's why many of us have been advocating that we should have a bit of a multinational approach to the development of infrastructure in Africa. Now, there is a problem. Some people in the Western world are not focusing on hard infrastructure. They believe in soft infrastructure. They talk about health, education, but an average African now is focusing on the hard infrastructure, because the calculation is that if you get infrastructure right, the soft area, education, health, and all, can be easily taken care of. And it's taking time before the West will quickly adjust to this reality. Because if you don't support Africa to get out of the infrastructural deficit, and Asia is able to help out, then the balance of loyalty in future may not favor the West. And many are realizing it in Western capitals now. So Africa actually need all hands on deck. The Chinese, despite all the attacks and propaganda, something is happening in Kenya now. From the ports of Mombasa, you can now pick your container straight into the heart of Kenyan business. And now straight to the border now with the rehabilitation that's of the narrow gauge Uganda just approved. You know that East Africa has become a bit integrated across the intermodal line, thanks to support from China. And of course, thanks to the incoming Western companies that are now collaborating. So I would say Africa need all hands on deck. And let me cite the Egyptian as a model.
Yeah.
Askary.
You mentioned there's this, one of the big African regional is the East African Master Plan.
Exactly.
Which, as you mentioned, it's being built very actively
yes.
in cooperation with China. But it also includes ports and other recently Kenya and Uganda, I think they agreed to upgrade their border transport railway connection. But in Uganda, you have not a standard gauge. You have the narrow gauge. I think it's called the meter gauge. But they agreed somehow to integrate these ones. It would be, of course, better if you have the same standard in all African countries. But you can go ahead with the Egypt, because if you remember, I mentioned in our webinar in Nigerian rail, which we participated together, what I call the Sputnik Effect is that because the Egyptians offered this bidding for a high-speed railway from the Suez, in the Suez, Gulf of Suez in Ain al-Sukhna, across the country to the west through the new administrative capital, the old capital, Cairo, and to Alexandria and Alamein in the west of the country. This is the first time the Egyptians do an east-west railway, because everything in Egypt goes south-north along the river. But the Chinese first got the contract or the bid, but then the German Siemens, with the support of the German government, they intervened and they said, look, we can do it cheaper and quicker, and we can even involve. So it's that's a positive kind of competition. It's not like trying to stop the Chinese, but trying to offer the host countries an alternative, which is beneficial to that country too, because the Germans also even have offered to finance it with credit, export credit. So please, you may want to. This is a picture of the not the line, but also this is the Egyptian president Abdel Fattah al-Sisi when he met with the head of the Siemens, Joe Kaiser.
Now, you see, thank you for that addition. You know, when I mentioned the Egyptian model, and I will also recommend it for many African countries. Now, Egypt is operating a liberal railway market that is open to companies from East, from West, from Central Europe, from Russia, and that's why within the Egyptian market, now railway market, you have TMH that is playing very big role in terms of coaches, locomotive, and all those. You have Siemens, you have Alstom, you have Japanese companies also having one stake. You have American companies, Canadian and others. Now, Egypt has created a bit of a liberal market where you can come, show interest, you compete, and you get what you want as long as you comply with the rule. Ethiopia is also moving toward that line, trying to say, okay, our market is open, you can collaborate, you can coordinate to implement projects. So Egypt is a very good model. For us in West Africa, we are recommending it even to East Africa. And Tanzania did that a lot before the death of the former president. They also opened up the market. China has opened the door, and the West has now seen it that, well, you can take risk on behalf of Africans. You can actually show Africa that you are their friend by connecting them. Imagine you be able to take train from Mombasa down to Sudan, down to Nigeria, move your goods, then poverty will go, and even the West and the East will be happy because you will not be able to relate well with Africa, which is not a body, which is not a deficit to the world. So Egypt is a very good model. And I don't know where President al-Sisi got it, but whoever is in charge of that model has really done very well for Egypt.
Yeah, I think one more thing that the Egyptians are trying to do is what they're doing is that what the Chinese did, because first they are learning the technique and technology, because in all the contracts, they have a condition that their companies, Egyptian companies, will be involved in the project. Okay. So they are learning the techniques, and then they are now going to Africa, offering what they have learned in construction projects. So I think the Turks do the same thing. So that's a very good model, as you say, you know, not only relying on others to build for you, but you learn how to fish, so to speak, not only buy fish, get fish from someone. So the Egyptians are building a construction sector, which then can compete with the Europeans and the Chinese in other African countries, but not like competing them out, but Egypt can offer solutions which are not lucrative for China and the Europeans, not so profitable. But the Egyptians would be interested to take that offer or present that offer and develop their industry outside of Egypt in other African countries. So that's a fascinating story. I mean, Africa has big needs, and we have also big problems in Africa, but as they say, we have to start somewhere. And therefore, as you said, it's very important for Europe and the United States to realize, or the West generally, that you need to build the hard infrastructure, as we said in our introduction, because you need the transport, the water, the power, the skilled labor, the capital. You need many things. You need the technology, and not simply trying to solve what they call social problems, because the social problems are results of economic problems.
Economic problems, yes. Now, like you have just said from that point, if you tackle hard infrastructure, then the economy will boom. When the economy is improving, then there will be funds to spend on social infrastructure, education, health. But if you now turn it around, you focus on social infrastructure while the economy is grinding to a halt, then you are not happy. And I had an interaction with some officials from Prosper Africa, the American African model. And I was trying to put up this argument that the real friend of Africa now are those that are helping to bridge the infrastructural deficit. If you help Africa in that line, leave education, leave any other thing, Africa will sort those one out. But if you don't help us in terms of power, telecommunication, transport, and ICT and all that, if you don't help us in those hard sectors, Africa can hardly grow. And if Africa cannot grow, all your investment in education, health, AIDS, and all those will go down the drain. So a new concept should be that China has done it. China has pumped billions of dollars into road and Belt and Road Initiative. Now, whatever criticism anybody may have on that initiative, it has helped Africa. It has opened up Africa, and it has challenged the world that to be a friend of Africa, come and help us to build roads, bridges, aviation, ICT, power, and all those. So it's a clarion call to all friends of Africa in the West, East, and Asia that hard infrastructure is what we need to get out of poverty.
Right. Well, that's a great note to end our wonderful interview with Olawale. I'm very happy that I think this is also the message of the Belt and Road Institute here in Sweden. We're also calling on Sweden and other European countries to join China and the Belt and Road to develop every part of the world. Competition doesn't have to be to undermine the other. Competition can mean that you can work side by side for the common goals of development for all nations. So I'm very happy that I finally have you with me, Olawale. It was a very interesting and informative meeting, and looking forward to having further interaction with you. And I will, of course, we will have for our viewers, you will have the link to the website, which Mr. Olawale A-Rasheed is the editor of, in the description below the video. So thank you very much, and we are looking forward to further discussions.
Yes, thank you very much, Hussein. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.